Hello and welcome. Good evening. You're watching Democratic Newsroom. I'm Akshita Nandgopal. Welcome to the special Bihar edition. The countdown is on to the Bihar election. So the next 30 minutes, I'll be joined by my colleagues, fellow editors here in the India Today newsroom to discuss what's happening in Bihar. And today, we're going to be talking about the big C word in Bihar, caste. You hear about it every election season, particularly in a state like Bihar. And so that's what we're going to decode for you on whether caste is the biggest factor when it comes to an election in Bihar, and is it just Bihar or across the country as well? I'm joined here by Rajdeep Sardesai, a consulting editor. We have a senior managing editor, Gaurav Sawant, group editorial director for publishing, Raj Chengappa is here with us, joining us here in our newsroom for a change for the Democratic Newsroom. Also with us are our managing editors, Shakeel and Preeti Chaudhry, who we've teleported here into our studio in Delhi because both of them have been out there in Bihar reporting and getting us a sense of what's happening on the ground. So you'll get a sense of what's happening in Bihar as well right now in the run-up to an election. But Rajdeep, I'd like to begin with you. You poised this very perfectly about whether you cast your vote or vote your caste.
That's right. It's not something new. It's been talked about for years. But what I find interesting is every time there's a Bihar election, we suddenly jump and talk about caste. Why don't we talk about it in Mr. Chengappa's home state when it's Vokaligas and Lingayats?
But we do.
Or no, not to the same extent. Why don't we talk about it in my home state of Maharashtra when there is talk between Marathas and non-Marathas? Why not in Haryana when there are Jats and Dalits? The fact is, caste is a reality. We are referring to it in the political context as a Bihar election. Fair enough. But have you seen classifieds? Wanted for US returned Kshatriya boy, wheat complexion Kshatriya girl. Look at the caste atrocities, particularly against Dalits, that continue to take place in this country. Caste is an unfortunate reality that we have to come to terms with. Yes, caste loyalties matter, therefore, at election time, because people are looking for leaders who will represent their groups. Interestingly, in Bihar, you will have constituencies where Yadav will battle Yadavs. So it's not as if, it's Yadav versus a Kurmi versus a Malla. It will often be people of the same caste because they are in numerical majorities. And we've seen in Bihar itself, Akshita, when, for example, Nitish Kumar won 2010, he won such a massive majority that it couldn't have been that the caste groups were frozen in time. Occasionally, there are other factors that also operate. Caste is one of the many important factors, possibly in some elections.
It's the biggest factor in Bihar.
You could argue the biggest factor. I actually think over time, caste is slowly being trumped, interestingly, in Bihar by gender. I think gender is becoming one of the factors in Bihar that needs to be looked at, and indeed across the country. It is my new theory that whoever wins the woman vote wins an election.
Which is why you see schemes accordingly.
That's right. So I think, let's not also be frozen in time and only look at caste from that old prism. I also want to make one final point. Politicians, I keep hearing, all you media people in studio only talk about caste during these elections. Politicians choose their candidates based on caste. Even cabinets are chosen on the basis of caste. A few years ago, Narendra Modi ji's cabinet, when it was being reshuffled, into brackets was OBC of a particular leader. So even the government of the day at the center was reminding you that this person was an OBC. So, this is the reality that we all have to live with. And it's not going to change, unfortunately, in a hurry.
What do you think, Gaurav?
Caste may be a wider canvas, but voter today is far smarter. Otherwise, if you just look at the RJD Congress, if they're looking at, that MY combined, Bihar specifically, with the Muslims and the Yadavs 14 and 17% around, they should be winners, right? They should be sitting duck winners, but they're not. A Kurmi with 2.7% or 2.8, less than 3%, is a chief minister for the past 20 years and counting. Except for that short stint of Jitan Ram Manjhi. What does that indicate? Yes, caste matters, but there is a lot more in every party. When you look at either their manifestos or their speeches, what is it that they're promising? And I was just making a list. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar is pledging 1 crore jobs. Is it on the basis of caste? No. 1 crore job opportunities in the next 5 years. Asha Karyakartas to get enhanced allowances. Mukhya to get 7,500. Is it Mukhya only of one caste? No. Across the state. Educated unemployed to get 1,000 allowance. Is it only one caste? No. Across the state. Similarly, what is the RJ doing? RJD saying a government job for each family. 2,500 for the Bahan Mas scheme. buy scheme, is it only for one caste? No. So caste, yes, is a reality, but now it's a much wider canvas in an aspirational India.
But
I said this is caste being replaced by cash. You know what the point is, basically if
you're giving them jobs,
what jobs in every this is a bribery that he's talking about. We discussed this last week. Therefore, if at all you want to defreeze caste loyalties, how are you doing it? By throwing cash at people. I mean that is also a harsh reality. Let's call a spade a shovel.
So, we call a spade undoubtedly. But is it, if money is being put into people's hands, and again, not doled out the way it is, but given as direct benefit transfer, it's putting more money into economy, putting more money in their accounts, helping them in a way bring themselves up, give them jobs, give them a stipend, and it happens world over. It's not as if it's happening only in India.
One week before the election, I suddenly discovered that the Mahilas of Bihar need self-employment through 10,000 rupees in their wallets. 10,000 rupees going to make them entrepreneurs. It's a straight bribery. I mean, the only way you are trying to reduce the impact of caste is throwing cash at people. That's the reality. The so-called guarantees, not just in Bihar, but across the country.
You want caste to remain.
It's a reality.
So when you beyond caste.
So when you build
caste, there's an issue with it.
No, Mr. Sawan, when you build, for example, a Hindutva constituency in this country that is directed primarily as the Muslim as the enemy, that's okay. But suddenly when it's caste, I have a problem. You have no problem with communal politics, but you have a problem with caste politics.
I anyway say India first, and Hindus, Muslims all together. And again, when this money is being given, is it only being given to Hindus? It is also going to Muslims. Are Mukhias only Hindus?
They are also
point
Muslims.
My
point is the way you said, should we stick with caste? Caste is a living reality in this country. You cannot ignore it.
Okay, we'll come back. Gentlemen, just hold on. I'll just bring in Maria, Preeti and Raj also, who's been waiting patiently.
Please.
Let's understand from Maria and Preeti first. Maria, to you first.
Gaurav was too close to me. That's why I was...
Is caste, voting on caste lines still very much a reality in Bihar, Maria?
Akshita, I think Maria, she posed a question, is caste still a big reality in Bihar?
Yes, caste is, Akshita, a pan-India reality. That's the truth. But it becomes sharper in the context of Bihar because of land owning or land settlements, or should I say, the way there is a gap between the haves and the have-nots. But I also feel that this binary actually reduces the larger prism through which Bihar should be looked at. Remember, this is the crucible of Indian politics in many ways. The biggest agrarian movement has happened in Bihar. Bihar gave the call in 1974 of total revolution. The fact is that Bihar was the voice of social engineering and social movements. So to say that just caste defines Bihar may not be correct. But yes, I agree with Rajdeep when he says that the new deciding factor in the context of Bihar is the Mahila. When you travel across Bihar, and I've been on ground for the last 8 days, you do hear a very vociferous voice. This is not a silent voter. The women of Bihar are loud. They are very clear. They are speaking with great clarity, and they are speaking about their choices. But at the same time, while we talk about that 10,000 rupees being given into accounts of some women just ahead of elections, there is also a section, and I've been meeting a lot of them, who are saying that they have not got that money. So I would say that women who emerged as a caste-neutral constituency till 2020 may be returning to their caste in this election.
Preeti, what do you think? Do you think that, in the past elections that you've covered versus now, the caste is a bigger factor, or has it changed? Because many would think that, with time going by, 21st century India, caste shouldn't matter. What do you think?
Well, Akshita, one would be in denial if you don't accept that caste is a big reality where the state of Bihar is concerned. Gaurav might say that the combine of Yadav and Muslim is enough to win an election. It's not enough to win an election basically because of caste. And why so? The Kurmis might be 2.6%, but the entire non-Yadav OBCs makes about 28%, which vote Nitish Kumar, which actually vote the NDA, the BJP. The EBC comes into into question, which is close to about 32-33%. They all have the backing they all back Nitish Kumar. There is a reason why these watertight compartments and molds have been set in, and that is why this election has always gone down the same way. The other thing, Maria, what Maria also said, and what Rajdeep touched on, Akshita, is let's look at, let's divide it. All political parties might come and say caste doesn't matter. The Bharatiya Janata Party, 49% of their votes, of their seats that they've given to the upper caste. The RJD, 49% of their seats that they've given to the MY combine that you speak of, Muslim Yadav combine. You talk about the JDU, the EBC is their biggest vote bank, and 51% of seats distribution has happened where 51% of them have gone to the EBC. So, the parties themselves understand that caste matters. They can say what they might. What I think would be a differentiator, one both Maria and Rajdeep touched on where Bihar is concerned, which is the woman vote. Because it breaks stereotypes, it's broken the caste mold in the past. The other vote, which I think this time around could break that caste mold in the state of Bihar, is the youth. The migrant vote, which till now has been spoken of and accepted very openly but never really part of political conversation, is being spoken of this time. Right from Jan Swaraj to the Congress to the BJP, you have the JDU.
Yeah.
Suddenly the young youth of Bihar, that has to leave the state is now, who will bring them back, is finally an election issue. So I think two factors could break the caste mold, if at all, in a state in Bihar which is dyed in wool where it comes to allegiance, is the Mahila vote and the youth factor. And this time I actually feel the youth factor will trump the Mahila factor in Bihar.
So maybe
And
the
just
MY...
to add to what Preeti is saying,
Yeah,
Akshita,
Maria.
this is the same state which just voted 5 years ago to CPI-ML. There are 12 candidates of that party. How do you explain that? If we talk about caste as the dominant narrative, yes, there is also CPI-ML, which fights on a completely different set of issues. They talk about completely different movements and ideology. How are they winning?
But those are pocket,
Yes, but 12 seats.
Okay, so,
I agree with this.
let me bring in Raj on this. Raj, you've heard what everyone has to say. Preeti suggests that maybe MY now stands for Mahila Yuva. Do you think we're reaching that time, we're ushering in that time in Bihar where it's no longer about caste?
No, fascinating to listen to those on the ground, and they probably know better than us. I'd only say a couple of things. One, caste, as I agree with everyone, is a reality, right? And I think it represents interest groups. Unfortunately, caste became a cause of great inequality in India, and a lot of these groups now are fighting. As we've seen, I think Maria rightfully pointed out, the whole Mandal movement took great root in Bihar, and the fruits of that we saw with both Lalu Prasad Yadav and Nitish Kumar coming to the forefront of affairs in Bihar. But I would just add, apart from what Preeti and Maria had said about, and of course Rajdeep had said about women vote, and now of course the youth vote, and I think Preeti specifically mentioned the migrant vote, which is about 7% if you look at it in terms of the overall percentage. But I would just add, in this particular election, apart from the fact that each one is maneuvering properly in terms of the castes, and if you see what Tejashwi has done, is to get rid of this Muslim Yadav combination that Gaurav had talked about, has actually brought a lot more rainbow colors into it. Whether by getting the VIP in and nominating Mukesh Sahni, as the Deputy Chief Minister, Rajesh Ram, which is the Congress president, is from the Ravidas community, and therefore
it's still about getting that community mix.
So everyone understands that, even someone like Tejashwi understands that 32%, you have to reach something like 38% or 36%, as we saw in the previous elections, right? And to get to that number, all these small caste groups begin to matter, the smaller ones, whether the Mallas or anyone, 2%ers come in. Now, the idea, I think, why it's become so important in this election is because Nitish Kumar is on the wane. This is probably his last election that we're going to see. He represented an EBC class that he kept for all these years, and anyone he joined with sort of won the Bihar elections. That, for a change, is now fragmenting. And so each of these, if you see, Tejashwi is now pushing hard to get all those votes that's there, because if he gets that 1%, he reaches 37%.
Yeah.
The only big factor, I think, that will begin to really
make the difference, where caste could be trumped, is that there is a mood for change in Bihar. I'm just listening to what Preeti as well as Maria, who's done both of them done some really outstanding groundwork on this, is you ask anybody, they want change. Now, who represents that change? For a while, you saw Jan Suraj and Prakash Kishore represent that because they felt that he was getting the momentum. Yeah. But with him pulling out and not contesting, now they have to find someone who would deliver on that front. So if you see, the momentum suddenly seemed to be, while everybody that you spoke to beforehand talked of the NDA having a clear edge and, it seemed like a done deal, till the Mahagathbandhan decided that they would make Tejashwi their chief ministerial candidate. That suddenly gave them the momentum. And if you saw, the whole attack was that Nitish Kumar had not been declared officially. So who's the leader? And suddenly Tejashwi, I think, has emerged as the kind of rallying force of it. So I would say it's still early days. But one of the big things that will change, that will trump caste completely, is if there is a mood for change and they want that, and Nitish Kumar is on the decline, we will have to see whether this will gather momentum and could propel all those forces that represent the change. And that could just, all this business of which caste you are, all that, they might just say, look, we need change. We like Nitish Kumar, and I saw that happen in Odisha. Naveen Patnaik, highly popular, but they felt he had run his course. And there was no other leader. They just wanted change. The BJP road to power.
Yeah. Rajdeep?
No, I just wanted to make one interesting point. For 40 years in Bihar, or states like Bihar, from 1950s, wait till the 1980s, there was upper caste dominance in large parts of North India. Did you ask this question? When upper castes were ruling with a much smaller population, were ruling in the so-called umbrella coalition, the Congress for several decades, the BJP for a while, but primarily the Congress. Did we ask the question, are elections being voted on caste basis? You see, caste makes certain people uncomfortable.
No, are you suggesting that's also
caste
discrimination?
makes certain people uncomfortable because it brings out all the social cleavages and the inequalities in our society. When you actually go and meet a Musahar, the so-called rat catchers, and find how they were denied for years and decades and centuries basic education in this country, this is their moment to empower themselves. What is happening in Bihar?
Are we not seeing that change, Rajdeep? Are we not seeing that
No,
change?
you see,
Where the empowerment is happening.
you see what I think what happened, and this is the interesting part, in South
Rajdeep,
India, the social revolution preceded the political revolution. In
will
North
vote
India,
for
there was
HA
no
and will
social
vote for
revolution
Majhi.
because of the way
One
land ownership was. Therefore, the political revolution has come before the social revolution. That is the reality of Bihar. The politics has changed, but society has not changed at the same pace.
Okay.
In South India, on the other hand, the reverse happened. You had social revolution, which has now led to political revolution. But my simple question, all these years when upper castes were dominating the politics of this country, why didn't we ask this question? Do you vote your caste?
So are you suggesting it's a certain sense of discomfort?
I think caste makes certain people uncomfortable. They want still the supremacy of a particular segment of society.
I completely disagree with Rajdeep on the simple point that there are, the Lalus and the Nitishs and all the others that at one point of time ruled on the basis only of Lalu ki kya caste hai, Lalu kisko
Not
lekar
at all.
aaye,
It was a revolution of the poor. It was a revolution of the poor that
who's getting
devoured
the
them.
Yadavs getting together, who's getting the Muslims together, who's getting certain castes together, what kind of a coalition are you able to do? Look at what was Khan
Other
in
parties
Gujarat.
don't do it.
Okay, Maria wants to come in. Maria wants to make a
Akshita?
point.
What was Kham in Gujarat? What was Kham in Gujarat?
Okay, Maria
You're
wants
seeing
to
how
make
the
a
coalition-
point. Just
so why
hold on.
single out?
Okay.
No, the moment you talk about like this in Bihar, it's like targeting Bihar and not talking the same about, Kham in Gujarat.
Okay.
So either Kham combination in
Okay, let
Gujarat
Maria
or about-
come in. Let
It
Maria
was to
come in.
remove upper caste dominance.
Okay, let Maria come in. Maria.
One second.
Akshita, in 1990s Bihar, Lalu Yadav was a political necessity. When he carried out those movements of Bhura Bal and the entire movement against the upper caste, that was the need of the hour. Just as in 2005, when Nitish Kumar arrived on the political scene and he started speaking about the Mahila voter, and then he carved out the extreme backward classes. Remember, whenever it's a society in transition. No society is frozen. What breaks my heart as a Bihari is that this is the state which has given the biggest social talking points to the entire country. You know, the
Okay.
biggest leaders of JP movements have been the deciding, leaders in multiple states.
I'm running
But
out of
then
time,
when
so
it comes to
quickly-
the states development,
So quickly,
the
a
state
closing
doesn't-
comment.
It's actually
quickly,
the Magad Samrajya.
quickly close.
More than
No, I'm
the
running out of time.
Russian
I'm running out of time.
now,
Can I just
Patliputra
come in
Magad
quickly?
Samrajya is what has come out of
Preeti,
that
go ahead.
land.
Preeti, go
And
ahead, quickly.
Talk about caste is anyway. Go ahead, Preeti.
Preeti.
You know, okay, listen, we speak of the upper caste, why, what Rajdeep spoke of, that why are we only talking about the upper caste? We are talking about the upper caste here. We are speaking of the fact, is Prashant Kishore taking a chunk of the upper caste youth vote? Aren't we talking about that? The fact is, caste is a reality. It shouldn't be a reality, but it is in Bihar like it is in other states.
Okay, last
No,
1
you're-
minute
no,
that
no,
I have.
no,
Rajdeep.
you're misleading. I said for 40 years the upper caste dominated the politics of this country. At that stage, we didn't speak about
Okay,
caste.
so let me
as a
just let me
reality
flip
of
this
this
around.
country. No,
Let me
we
flip
didn't.
this around.
It makes you uncomfortable, caste.
I have
That
one.
is the reality.
Okay, I have one last question, which we'll wrap this up. Rajdeep, to you first. So, are you suggesting then that when we have this kind of politics based on caste, votes based on caste, it's an okay thing or it's a bad thing? Do we need to address it, or it's fine? Let it be as is.
In an ideal world, you want equal opportunity for all. If you can create an equal opportunity society, I believe caste.
So we're not
on
there
its,
yet.
Well, far from it. Far from it. You put a young Dalit boy, a Musar boy, and put a upper caste boy, and they don't have the same equal
So,
facilities.
vote on caste is a reality, and
Until you
because
create an
it's- Okay.
equal opportunity society.
Gaurav.
So basically, this is aspirational India and it's moving. The fact that you're talking about Mahila and Yuva looking for a better future, looking for, if as many argue, Sushasan, good governance, that good governance and Sushasan, Mahila youth will be taken forward, where caste, maybe that canvas, but you'll have a much bigger
Okay,
canvas to
Raj,
paint on.
Raj, quickly. Yeah.
I think it's important that we have the caste conflict that is going on, or caste interest being played out, because that's the churn that society has. That inequality has to be addressed. It'll be addressed in various ways. If it is a class consciousness, again, there will be that kind of conflict that will happen, and there will be an equalization of forces. So I see it as something that is important. But let's also be very clear that this is not the only factor that will determine an election.
Correct.
Yes, one
There
of.
are a lot of the other factors, including aspirations, as he mentioned,
Right.
including wanting change and getting a fresh government and a new team to get onto it. So
Okay.
you'll see a multiplicity of factors and good leadership.
Okay.
Also very important.
Maria, Preeti, quickly, 10 seconds each, please. I'm running out of time completely. Maria, to you first.
Well, okay, the only thing I'd say, Akshita, is that because we are talking about caste, will that be a defining factor in Bihar? If something has to break the caste cauldron and the caste mold, it is two things I feel. I think number one, the constituency is youth, if at all. Youth will play a factor in voting away from caste this time around. And number two is women. I feel youth will trump women this time in breaking that mold.
I get a sense that in the context of Bihar, the constituency that was created by Nitish Kumar, women as a caste-neutral constituency may be moving away from their gender back to their caste group. And if that happens, then we are looking at a very silent shift going back to the caste in Bihar.
I agree.
So you've heard from the most experienced team, you've heard from the team on ground. We leave it to you, the viewer, to decide. But irrespective, the reason you hear all of this caste talk in the studio is because it's something that's a reality on ground, which we're reflecting then in our election coverage. Thanks very much for tuning into this edition of Democratic Newsroom.